Okay, everyone, welcome back to Effing with the Ineffable. I am Zoe.
I'm Smokey P.
And we are wearing the same thing we were wearing last time because we are filming this directly afterward. We were going to talk about two things on the last podcast, and now we talked so long that we're just going to make another episode. We're going to have I think we're going to get back to weekly episodes at this rate because we filmed two last time. I split it into two, and now we're filming two this time. So we're going to have a backlog for a while, but that's good.
Good. Our eager subscribers will have something to look at.
I know they're just waiting with bated breath for us to release episodes. I actually like
bated breath. That means what? Like they've been eating worms?
The P.O. box is just full of fan mail.
We should get a P.O. box. Have people send us stuff.
Like we can.
No,
we could do that.
We're complete mercenaries. Send us stuff to review, guns,
concert tickets,
cryptocurrency, concert tickets. Mom wanted some tickets to go see Grand Funk Railroad at the casino. It's like, are you interested? It's like, no. The picture was just sad.
I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest. That sounds like just a pretext for a gambling trip.
It for her it is. I'm gonna go see Alice Cooper there in a couple weeks.
That'll be cool.
Yeah, nice.
Maybe.
You remember Alice Cooper, right?
Sorry, is he still alive?
I hope so.
He's. I think last time I saw him, he was.
Unless this is like some kind of Weekend at Bernie's thing.
He's really looking Crypt Keeper-esque. Last time I saw a picture of him,
He was probably 30 in 1970, so that puts him probably at getting close to 80 now. So I don't know.
think the picture I saw of him when he was when he was 30, anyways. So I can't imagine what he looks like now.
Welcome to my nightmare. Yeah, remember him from Wayne's World?
I was just thinking that. I was thinking the last time I saw him was in Wayne's World.
It's Milwaukee.
1985?
Something like that.
It's the Indian word for where the waters meet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Man, I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Yeah. Mom was watching the No Country for Old Men this morning. It's amazing how many lines of dialogue I remember from that. I probably watched that movie like 4 times the first year it was out.
It's not a good movie to watch in the middle of the morning.
I loved it. I just thought that was an awesome movie.
Yeah,
so well done.
Or is that the other one with the creepy guy?
That's There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood. Yeah, okay.
It came out at like the same time.
Those came out, kind of simultaneously.
Yeah.
Who's like that's like the Spanish guy, Javier
Bardem.
Yeah. He's a good actor.
Anton Chigurh.
Yeah.
Are you saying is he like the plague? Is he, what's the relative danger factor?
Relative danger? That sounds like relative risk.
That was my Woody Harrelson imitation.
Impression. I had something to say and I totally forgot because if you saw our last episode, you'll know I have brain fog. But hey, we have a kind of a fun topic for today that I thought we could do. So my husband is not working right now, which I like, and he does not like. He very much does not want to be home all the time, but it allows us to do fun things. Like yesterday, we spent like an hour arguing over like presidents and their relative merit. And I don't know, Dad, do you ever make like
based on what evidence?
Okay, we'll get into that. But do you ever make tier lists? Like ranking things like what does that say?
That's a list.
Top
100 albums of 2021.
Are they
this is a list I got from somebody else.
Is that in order? Like number 1 is the best?
Yeah.
What's number 1?
On WNCW.
Of course.
is Billy Strings.
Oh, I like Billy Strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the others:
Remember
Sierra
those.
Farrell, Bella Fleck, James McMurtry, Tedeschi Trucks Band, playing Layla, the Layla album. Hayes Carl, Balsam Range, Charlie Crockett, Sturgill Simpson.
I know that name.
He's got 2 in the top 20. Yeah, I saw him this year, right?
You did?
Yeah,
Oh yeah. Oh
at
yeah.
Floyd Fest.
I forgot about
That was really one of the only concerts that he gave this year, because he developed some kind of throat thing after that.
Oof. Well, good luck to him recovering with that.
Yeah. Anyway, so
One of
tier
the-
list.
One of the other things we did last night, since we have so much time together, is we played this game where we would play like YouTube videos for each other, but like we couldn't see it, and it was all like music videos from like the 90s and 2000s, and we would have to guess the song as like early in the video as possible. So anyway, that's the things we. There's
Washington.
You want to guess what my number 1 is? Would you like to
Okay.
guess, George? Oops.
He's first in our hearts, first in what did they there was a phrase about Washington.
Yeah, you're right. What is that phrase? Now it's gonna bother me. I'll
First-
Google it really quick.
First something. And then they made a joke because the Washington baseball team was so lousy. First in our hearts, first of the something, and last in the American League.
First in war, first in peace, and first in the hearts of his countrymen.
There you go.
Okay, so we made a tier list. I don't know if you ever do that, but sometimes my husband and I will get in arguments about things. Like we did it for the best candy bars, and we'll do it like for all kinds of things, and we'll go on and we'll make a tier list. So we'll say like, okay, there's S tier, which is like the best, and then you rank things A, B, C, D, and F, and then
S is superior,
S is like, yeah, the best, like
elite.
yeah, I don't know what it stands for. I guess it would be superior. I don't know.
Who cares? It's above A.
Supreme. I don't know, but it's like S is the best, like the top of the cream of the crop. And then like it's like A through F below that. So we started ranking all the presidents. Here's the problem is we did it a little bit differently yesterday. We'll have to figure out what criteria we want to do, because I was trying to do it from the perspective of like which presidents were like the best in terms of like their policy, but I also have a hard time separating the person from the politician.
Yeah.
Like, my husband's better at that. So he's like, I don't care about them as a person.
That is the problem of democracy. That is
my thing.
the problem of democracy.
I'm ranking presidents, not people.
But like, okay, we came to like Bill Clinton, and I'm like, well, he is like allegedly
Definitely 100% killed Vince Foster.
a murderer, and a
Tell your
rapist.
friends.
It's a matter of record.
Yeah.
And so it's like I have a hard time being like, yeah, okay, he was a good president, even if he did good stuff. So anyway, we can talk about it, but so my criteria is kind of like a mix of like their policy and them as a person. My husband's was all.
My thing is policy and rhetoric. Those are my 2 things.
So I don't know if you were going to rank the presidents. How do you think you would rank them, Dad?
You got to give them one at a time. Parse it to them.
No, I'm saying in terms of criteria.
Oh, I see. Okay.
What would your criteria be?
Yeah. What would your criteria?
Yeah, well, I can't even remember all the presidents. Is part of the problem.
Favorite presidents?
had-
Benjamin Franklin, Alexander Hamilton, Saddam Hussein.
President of what? So this is, oh my goodness. So this is your
So here is I started with a blank.
Not chronological.
It's not.
Can I go by beards? Can I choose according to beards?
Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
I said this guy with the huge
That's
like mutton chops.
That's Martin Van Buren. He's the only president whose first language was not English.
Right.
His first language.
Yeah, Dutch. Yeah, right.
So we're
Yeah.
gonna add another row below.
It's going to be,
We don't have enough information.
and then incomplete.
Who the hell knows?
My rule is if you were assassinated,
working.
you get an
Oh, I did.
incomplete.
I did too many. Hold on, I gotta delete.
Oh, okay.
So JFK, you lucked out.
No, I
Wow.
don't go by that, but we can decide if we want to do that together. I'm just putting I don't know. Okay.
William Henry Harrison, Grover, all those people.
So some of these we can I thought it would be fun to do with you because honestly, there's a lot of people from the, like I remember George Bush being president, but I don't have memories of like politics before that.
Like you'll remember James Monroe. Like you'll remember people like that.
I'm sure I'm sure you'll have a better memory of people like, I don't know, like
good old guts and glory. Yeah, Tippy Canoe and Tyler too.
So how do we want to start this? Do we want to start chronologically?
Yes.
We'll start chronologically, and we'll probably have to put a lot of people into the I don't know.
You know who'd be great at this is Coach. I mean, because he taught American history.
Let's get him on.
Oh, we should zoom him in on this.
Yeah,
too.
call him in.
I don't know if he's into Zoom, but that would be cool. Okay.
I'm gonna doubt you.
So Washington, in terms of,
come on now.
I mean, I would put him as S rank president, and here's why specifically. I would say he's an S rank president because he chose to step down from power, and I think that is the epitome of a good politician in my mind. I mean, that's what I want, is somebody who's willing to go reluctant. In and do what he needs to do and then step away. He was
a reluctant.
Yeah. He might have been the best president in terms of that because he didn't seek the presidency, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
he was great and recognized as great, and so kind of rose to the position through complete merit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how often does that happen nowadays?
I haven't seen that happen ever.
Now it seems to be you just literally hang around long enough and you'll probably get your turn.
Until you die, or it's politically expedient for you to not be a politician
you'll get your turn as long as you're somewhat different from the person who's presently presently president.
Presidently president.
You know?
Yeah.
Trump got elected because he wasn't Hillary Clinton.
Yep.
Biden got elected because he wasn't Donald Trump.
Yep.
Whoever gets elected next will probably be because they are contrasted with Joe Biden somehow. I don't know what that's going to be. We'll have to find out.
So we're going in order? Is that what we're doing? So next is John Adams.
John Adams.
This is where Zoe just gets silly.
No, this is where we are.
I know. She's got a crush.
Ridiculous.
She's got a crush on John Adams.
She really does.
Here's my case for why he's an S-level president, okay? He was the most honest politician we've ever had. He was always honest.
George Washington.
Stop talking over me.
I'm sorry, but is he more honest than Honest Abe?
Yes.
Honest Abe literally has honest in his name.
He was always.
That was a moniker that was ascribed to him, but does his behavior always bear that out?
Probably not.
John Adams was supremely honest. He was libertarian minded. My dad sent me a whole podcast about the libertarian, viewpoint of John Adams. I think he was libertarian, but he also had a very good sense of human nature. He understood that we didn't want a what is it called when you have one person ruling?
A monarchy?
Monarchy, thank you. We didn't want a monarchy, but we also didn't want like a pure democracy. We really wanted a republic, and he was a big proponent of that. And he was the last president of his kind. Here's another argument for him. Very vehemently anti-slavery. He was extremely anti-slavery. He was the only one of the first, 15 presidents who didn't own slaves. Might
Wow.
be 13 or something, but he was the only, him and his son, John Quincy, were the only two who never owned slaves out of like the first, it was like something like the first 13 or 15 presidents.
Yeah, something like that.
That's my argument for why he's an S tier president. If you have a good argument against why he should not be an S tier, please bring it forth.
Sure. He wanted to be president. That contrasts him from George Washington right off the bat.
He did want to be president, but did any of these?
But that doesn't contrast him from the other 44.
Exactly.
Well, that's why George Washington is in a category all of his own.
But
you're making my argument for me, folks.
Okay, he might be the first in S tier, but there can still be other S tier presidents.
Also, and Zoe for some reason underplays this. The Alien and Sedition Acts. Go ahead.
Okay. The aliens, they talk about this in that podcast. I'll link that podcast because it was interesting. But he says that the Alien and Sedition Acts were actually like a liberalization of what was already on the books. It wasn't that and if you don't know the alien, why don't you explain the Alien and Sedition Acts?
So the Alien Sedition Acts allowed him and the government to punish people for being critical of the government.
It effectively allowed him to punish people for being critical of the government, but it was passed during during wartime when they were afraid of spies infiltrating the country, basically. And like there were already Alien and Sedition Acts on the books, and it was a liberalization of that. Yes, it was a mistake, and he actually regretted it later. And I think that that's a good mark for him, that he's a human being. He wasn't perfect. All of these people are not perfect. They were human beings. You might think George Washington was the greatest thing since sliced bread.
No,
but
I don't think he's perfect. He had slaves.
He owned slaves.
But that's him as a man, not him as a president.
But how do you separate the man from the president is what I'm saying. Like,
well, what policies did he advocate as president that promoted slavery? What did he do to promote slavery as president?
I don't think he was politically very pro-slavery.
There you go.
Even personally, he was fairly anti-slavery.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway, I'm
based on the fact that he freed his slaves.
No, Martha Washington freed the slaves.
Based on the fact that he, in his writings, talked about he in his personal writings, he wasn't super he wasn't as anti-slavery as John Adams, but he was anti-slavery, and he also made the case, just from a practical perspective. He said, I think, he was kind of instrumentally. He said slavery is just not good policy. Like, it's just, he's like, I have to pay so much. It's not good economically. Yeah. So.
And it's hard for me to judge that as being a character flaw. I mean, I have to basically say, I like cheesecake. Do I think people should eat cheesecake all the time? No. Would I eat cheesecake every day if it was here for me? Probably.
So you're saying
so that's like George Washington's approach to slaves. It's like, it's when you're around the slaves, you just kind of go with that. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in slave owning early America, own slaves. Yeah. And it was just a common factor among everybody back in the not everybody, but almost everybody back in the day.
He and a lot of other people thought that slavery was going to naturally die out anyways.
Yeah, he definitely
just because it was economically untenable. Like, paying people so that they were motivated to do the work was so much more efficient and cost you so much less, because you're not paying overseers when you're paying someone, when you're paying someone an actual wage. They're doing the work willingly.
You also don't have to pay to like house them and feed them and stuff like you do for slaves. Like, you can just give them their salary.
It's actually technology was what actually revitalized the institution of slavery, because then the cotton gin came around, and now it was like slaves could work much more efficiently. So that people thought, oh, actually, this isn't so bad. We can keep this institution around for a while because now we have the cotton gin. And then that's how it kind of got a lot more cemented into the psyche of people. And then they started to rationalize it, and then people started to glorify it almost. Then it became, I'm actually doing these black people a favor because they can't take care of themselves, so I'm going to take care of them for them. It's right. There are a lot of parallels to today,
which is what the government always does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's Joe Biden and the liberals' response to us poor, people who are just incapable of making good decisions for ourselves.
Mhm.
They have to tell us what to do because we're too stupid to figure out how to do it on our own.
It's literally every policy ever is basically that. I mean, it's just okay. We should move on because otherwise this is going to take us all day. So we've got Washington Adams. Okay.
No. I quibble with Adams being an S tier.
Well, it's my podcast.
Well, isn't Dad contributing? Isn't it 50-50 with Dad?
Is he
Yes.
now the S? Are we going to limit the number? Is this going to be like a bell curve? How's this going to go?
When I made my personal chart yesterday, I had 4 presidents in the S tier.
Who did you have?
Oh, okay, that's not bad.
No,
Yeah.
it's not.
I had 2.
No, I had like 25, and I don't know. To be fair, so.
Yeah.
But I had like 4. I only had 4 in S tier. I had 8. I had twice the amount in F as I did in S. So okay. So Washington, Adams, Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson. Where is he here? Where is he? Here he is. I'm just putting him there for now so we can look at him. Jefferson, I put him in A tier because I think that rhetorically he was one of the best presidents ever. I mean, he wrote like the Declaration of Independence. He wrote his writings. I mean, plus he was very anti-federalist. He was kind of anti-party, political party.
Feelings.
Yeah, he was basically like, let's try to have one political party, which, as my husband said, lasted like four years and then failed. Yeah. But I think
invite everybody to the party until they start fighting, and then they have to go their separate ways.
I think all that stuff is great. I just personally can't separate the fact that I do think he was pretty pro-slavery and his writings, he was kind of anti-slavery in a way, but he was in some sense pro-slavery and did not treat his slaves very well. And I have a hard time separating that from him. But where would you put him?
I'd put him in A. I think partisanship wasn't a big deal during George Washington's time as president. And I think that was because he was so willing to listen to everybody and there just wasn't that sort of friction, even though, it was a tumultuous time. And then I think things heated up while Adams was president. And then I think Thomas Jefferson did a good job of helping that cool during his time as president. So I think that's probably one of his biggest accomplishments. The Declaration of Independence, yeah, that's a great accomplishment. Wasn't while he was president, so I don't really factor that in myself. But I think, yeah, I'd put him in A tier because I think he did a lot of good domestically for the country.
What would you say, Dad? Do you have any arguments one way or the other?
I'd certainly either put him in the S or the A. I don't. Just naively, without having a lot of information, I would have to say that my impression is that Jefferson was maybe more elite, more superior than Adams, but I know that's not going to set well with you.
I agree with you.
I mean, I think he was really good in some ways, and I think you could make a case for S tier, but I don't know. I'll put him in A.
Okay, that's fine.
I just love John Adams. He's the best. Okay,
I know you do. Yeah. You're the. This is like the Security Council. You get one to put in that place, even if we don't agree. So
yeah, we all get one irrational choice.
Okay, fine. We all get one.
I think we're all agreed that George Washington was exceptional.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely.
For me, there are only 2 S tier presidents, but
we'll get to that in a bit. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison, James Madison. Where is he? He looks like an eagle, right?
Yeah.
Where is he here? Oh yeah, here he is. The pictures are hard to see. I feel like I'm going blind too. Okay. Madison wrote the Federalist Papers.
Yeah.
Bill of Rights.
He wrote the Bill of Rights.
Constitution. You ever hear of it?
Here's why
I've heard of it. Yeah, I'd put him above maybe even Jefferson.
Here's why I put him in C tier. I think politically he was great in that sense. I think that he also though was politically very pro-slavery, and I have a hard time with that. Like the slavery issue to me is a big deal. And I think that the fact that he was politically, and like he was the kind of person who actually believed that Black people were inferior and like basically deserved to be slaves. I have a really hard time saying that politically then that he should be.
His rhetoric.
So you're saying he was a slave apologist.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
He was a slave apologist.
Yeah. And that's big for you.
Yeah, I think that's how can you be somebody who wrote the Bill of Rights talking about the rights of people, the fundamental rights of people, and then still think that excluding
a group of people from that.
It's just
from that.
You define people, you know.
Well,
right.
It's all very technical stuff for some reason.
Well, and it's the problem that we're going to run into with more recent presidents as far as abortion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's the exact same.
For me, that's been the biggest issue since the 70s, you know, since it became a political issue.
It's the only political issue I really truly care about at the end of the day, if I'm being honest.
Right. And it's so akin to slavery that I don't understand how a lot of people of good conscience don't even recognize it as being an issue.
I completely agree.
I think it's a sin of ignorance, you know.
Well,
invincibly ignorant. And I guess I have to say probably Madison was, he was guilty of a sin of ignorance.
Yes.
But does that mean he didn't do a good job as president, given the culture that he was in? I think he did a great job. I think he did that, as far as the Constitution, as far as the Bill of Rights, I'd have to say those are things that we still refer to.
Yes.
These days as being foundational to the American way of life.
I would give him like a B plus, maybe. What would you give him?
I gave him a B. So he was president 1809 to 1817. So he was president during the War of 1812.
Yeah.
Which, dude's house got burned down. So, and you're trying to guide the country during that period. That's definitely something.
Right. He had to face another crisis too.
Yeah. He successfully got, for me, I give presidents who fared well during a crisis a lot of points.
Yeah. That's
a huge thing for me. So
yeah, grace under pressure is really, that's quite a quality. A lot of people, it wasn't their fault that they were presidents during peacetime.
Right.
Exactly.
But
probably wasn't to their credit either.
Yeah.
So Madison, I'd probably give him a B. I think things, again, like with Adams, things heated up in terms of partisanship. And I think that's where you saw the ball get rolling, which to inevitably would be the Civil War. I think that really started to heat up with Madison. And so that's definitely a big detraction, but I do give him a lot of credit for guiding the country through tough times. So I give him a B.
Yeah, and I have to give him somewhat of a pass. I would probably put him in A, but you keep him where he is. I don't care.
All right.
I'd probably give him a pass for that, because when you're at war, okay, here come the British, and again, the strongest army on earth is attacking you.
Yeah.
Your young country. Are you really going to make a big issue of slavery at that time, knowing how divisive it's going to be, and knowing you have to come together and you have to set a lot of differences, even very important differences like slavery. That is an incredible difference. That's a huge issue.
Yeah.
But was it existentially more of an issue than fighting against the British? I'd have to say not.
Not to someone like James
You
Madison.
know,
Yeah,
if somebody's standing outside my door shooting at me, they're going to get my attention more than somebody who's doing what they've always done, even though I disagree with it. You know, if my neighbor is, you know, if I'm counting on him to have my back to get my six, and, you know, when stuff's hitting the fan, I'm not going to say, you know, I don't like the way you treat your kids.
I understand what you're saying, but I also think that he was actually pro-slavery, which is different than just not fighting for it. But we'll
So you're saying he was more than tolerant.
Yes.
Okay. He was an advocate.
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
so Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Madison. Okay, Monroe. What does Monroe look like? See, what was he like? I don't even know. I would put him
in the I don't know.
I'll put him in the I don't know, unless Dad, do you know anything about him?
Wasn't he the Monroe Doctrine?
Yeah. I think we should just leave it at I don't know.
That's all I know about him. I
Acquisition
think
is
the
the
Monroe
music.
Doctrine was what? Just that he was about, you know, and that's the thing. A lot of these guys early on, foreign policy was dominant. Foreign policy was the policy. They left people to their own. There was no taxation. There was no messing with the economy. There was not a lot of this cultural regulation that's going on these days, because they had existential battles to fight. There was still colonization going on. The Brits still wanted to reclaim America as a colony until yesterday.
Yeah. So
I don't know what Monroe did.
All right, let's leave it at that.
I don't know. All I
He,
know
he apparently was pretty popular early on. I mean, there's Monrovias and there's lots of Monroes and named after him. But I don't know anything about him to really. There's going to be a lot of IDKs here between.
I agree. Yeah. I'm just looking at a list of presidents in order because
John Quincy Adams is next.
I start forgetting the order here.
JQA is 6. Yeah, I guess.
So you started at the bad end.
I don't know why they that's how Google did it for me. Okay. So we've got John Quincy Adams. He's got some good facial hair too. Let's see if I can get over here.
Yeah, look at that.
So he is, where is he? This guy? Is that John Quincy?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's another guy, owlish looking guy right down there by him, but that's Martin Van Buren.
Yeah.
That's MVB.
So John Quincy Adams, I don't know as much about him. I know that he didn't own slaves. Other than that, I really don't know much about him. So I would have to put him in I don't know. Do either of you have any information that you'd care to put forth?
Not really.
He was son of John Adams, so that does give him a leg up. But
He was a one-term president. I know that.
Just like his dad, right?
Yep.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Andrew Jackson.
Yeah, and the thing about John Quincy Adams, you got to wonder, is he one of the first of the legacy presidents, you know, the American royalty where
Kennedy.
He's got a name, and so we got you know, he gets a pass for that.
Little nepotiz. Yeah.
Little nepotiz, yeah.
Okay, Andrew Jackson. I think, is this the picture of him?
Gave us the greenbacks. Let's go.
So my husband says that Andrew Jackson is an A-level president because he ended the Fed.
Yes, he abolished the
Federal Reserve,
the Federal Bank or whatever.
Federal
abolished
Bank
at that point, yeah.
Which
So I give him a lot of credit for that, but
and I said, wasn't he like super corrupt and like all like just basically bought and paid for? And he's like, "Yup, but he gave us the Fed, so he still is an A-level president. I'll put him in, I don't know, B.
I'd be happy.
I don't, Andrew Jackson. He's kind of a hero around these parts, I think, because he was from what, Tennessee?
Not sure exactly.
I don't know, but he was big. What, in the War of 1812, right? I think he fought some key battles in like New Orleans.
Oh my gosh, look at that picture of him. Is that an actual picture?
This, it would have been from 1830s, or
it's probably not
actual
the president. That's
might be an actual photograph. Wow. Yeah.
It might be. By the way, cool, interesting fact.
Bloody Andrew Jackson. Oh yeah, he was a war hero.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah. In 1814, we took a little trip down with Colonel Jackson on the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans, and we beat the bloody British to the town of New Orleans. They ran through the woods and they ran through the brambles and they ran through the briars where the rabbits couldn't go. They ran so fast that the hounds couldn't catch them. We chased the bloody British to the Gulf of Mexico.
Very nice. Very nice.
That's a song you'll hear on WNCW occasionally.
I'm sure. Speaking of pictures, I thought this was really interesting. There was a video that just got remastered, and it was footage of what was it? It was like, okay, I gotta Google it because I gotta figure out exactly what it was. Footage.
Like whenever the Pope is put in place, installed or whatever, I don't know what the word is.
So there was a recent video that came out of Pope Leo the 13th from 1896, and it's supposedly video of the person, basically the oldest person to ever be on, not the oldest person, but the person born first, like the
person with the
earliest birth date to ever appear on video.
Yeah,
because he was born in he was like 80 years old when this came out. He was born in like the 1810s or something.
Wow.
So I thought that was really cool that that was a recent news thing. Anyway, way off topic and getting distracted. Okay.
All right.
Are we okay with Andrew Jackson in B tier?
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with him. I would think that he was just my general sense of where he's at was he was a pretty good president.
All right, B is pretty good president, I think. Okay. Yeah. Okay, the next person is Martin Van Buren. I give him props for being the only president not to have English as his first language, but I don't really know anything about him other than that.
I don't give him a lot of credit for that because I don't think he chose that. It's not a merit in my book. I don't know what he did.
Let's just put him in I don't know.
Yeah, he's I don't know.
Okay.
So this next guy I think belongs in incomplete. This is where clearly he belongs.
So William Henry Harrison, because he was president for less than a year.
In what happened? Like 200 days or something?
Was he the one who walked in his inauguration, caught a cold and died?
Yeah, he's the one who died after less than 2 months or something, I think, isn't it?
March 4th to April 4th.
Yeah.
1 month.
Okay.
Yeah, president for a month. So
I don't have an incomplete category. I just put him in I don't know. I mean,
that's fine.
Let's put him. So what does he look like now? Which one is he, Tim?
Where is Henry here?
I think you put him in. No. Yeah, you put him in there already, I think.
No, I didn't.
That was him.
He's this guy.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So go. He is right here.
There he is.
All right.
Some of these people, it's really hard to tell. Okay, so William Henry Harrison. Who's next? John Tyler.
My rule for all these people up to Abe Lincoln is they get Fs.
Because they didn't fight the battle. They just kept kicking the can down the street.
Yes, exactly.
So John Tyler, James Polk, and Zachary Taylor.
Millard Fillmore, James Buchanan, the lot of them. They all get it. They get the F.
I'm fine with that because I don't know.
because there was a growing cancer and they didn't have the courage to cut it out.
And they kept it, and nobody vetoed fugitive slave acts, like all of these acts that were that were trying to legalize slavery, essentially, like to incorporate it and make it national. I guess that's the word, nationalize slavery. They didn't do anything to rebut it. So, and then it was just a festering boil that eventually turned into the Civil War.
Where is he though? Where are all these people? So you're saying Taylor?
There's James Buchanan.
Okay.
I believe that's Millard Fillmore.
Okay.
I think that is supposed to be Zachary Taylor.
Okay.
That's James K. Polk. That's
John
John Tyler. That's
okay.
John Tyler.
Who
is that? Look, that's one too, but I can't remember his name. Is that?
Let's see.
No.
So we put in Tyler, Polk, and Taylor. Did we already do all those three?
Yeah.
Okay.
Franklin Pierce.
Fillmore.
That's who that one
Pierce, Buchanan. Okay, this guy you're saying?
Yeah. There's all good acts.
Okay. That makes it easy.
All right, I'll go with that.
Okay, so
And
what are we up to now? Okay, we did Pierce and Buchanan too.
Yeah. Look at James Buchanan.
It's a nice hairstyle.
Here, show Dad.
See, guys who just basically went along to get along, I don't give them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
I think you gotta, if you get to that point, you gotta take a stand. You gotta stand for something.
Yep.
Anybody who was the head of the Know Nothing Party.
Okay, so
Dad,
like I know nothing. It's like Sergeant Schultz. It's like I'm not gonna say anything about what Hogan and the rest of the prisoners of war are doing because I don't want to make any waves. I don't want to stir anything up. It's like, okay.
All right, so now we are up to Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
My husband,
Lincoln, I've been thinking.
My husband would say,
the heck have you been drinking?
I guess I would also have to say S tier. I mean, he ended slavery. That's a pretty good deal.
I think that Abraham Lincoln would be strongly against abortion today.
You think so?
Because you look at the way that he argued against slavery, and it's basically the exact way that a lot of people argue against abortion nowadays. There are fragments from his writings where he would remember that mock conversation he had with the slaver.
Yeah.
And he had conversations like oh, rational, like justifications on the part of slavers for slavery. And one would be intelligence. Oh, you think because you're smarter than the black man that you should be able to enslave him. But, beware that, the first white man who's smarter than you should be able to enslave you then, something like that. Or
exactly.
Or it's about complexion, it's like, oh, because they're darker than you should be able to enslave them. Well,
then anyone paler than you.
Yeah, anyone with fairer skin than you should be able to enslave you. That's a lot of how people argue against abortion these days.
Right. He was a great orator. He was very rational. I think he's clearly superior.
Yeah, he gets an S.
Yeah.
Okay, next is Andrew Johnson. What did you say about him?
Oh, he vetoed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, I believe. And just basically did what he could to try and stave off the Reconstruction. So I gave him an F.
He was kind of just trying to get things back to where they were before.
There was a lot. I mean, the Supreme Court did that. They ultimately did that, but I feel like he was trying to do it too. So I gave him an F as well.
Where is he here?
He's on the top left.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Lots of F presidents. Okay. Ulysses S Grant.
I gave him an A.
Although Johnson, in his defense, again, that was a situation where he came into a bad deal. Lincoln, I mean, it was a tough job, tough that his predecessor was killed in the line of duty. So you got to realize, oh man, this is kind of a touchy situation. I'm going to have to make some decisions that nobody's going to be happy with.
Yeah.
Which Abe Lincoln had the courage to do. Maybe Johnson didn't. Maybe Johnson was more conciliatory. Johnson certainly, Lincoln chose Johnson because he was from the South. And because he was, he hoped that would be throwing a bone
Olive branch
to the south. Yeah, an olive branch to the south. And maybe that was Johnson's fault, is that he was too conciliatory and too gave too much leeway to the powers that be in the South, and allowed for carpetbagging and stuff like that.
Yeah, one of the rare presidents that can actually complain about the hand he was dealt, I guess.
Yeah. He had a tough situation trying to heal the country. I think Grant probably falls into that same.
Do we want to give him a D? Do we want to...
Sure, I'll accept it.
All right, we'll give him a D. Okay, so Ulysses S Grant is the next one, right?
Yeah, I gave him. He was very active in trying to fight the Ku Klux Klan and really work towards the Freedmen's Bureau Act, and actually trying to legislate the reforms, like actually enforce the reforms that the Civil War was about. So I give him an A.
An S?
An A.
An A.
Oh, an A. Okay.
I think he's possibly one of the most underappreciated presidents that we've had.
All right.
I think a lot of people just are like,
no, we're clearly not grading on a bell curve. We're grading on more of a crater.
We're just grading based on what they merit, I guess.
We don't accept anybody as average. We just either condemn them or praise them.
Well, to be fair, I mean, everything you hear about presidents are like either the really great, especially presidents this far back, are either the really great things they did or the really bad things they did. You don't hear about them like, pardoning the turkey and all that stuff. Like that stuff doesn't matter. So anyway.
All right.
Okay, we are back and we are going to, let me share my screen again. We're going to try to get through the rest of these in a timely manner. I think we're like halfway. What did we do? We just
probably about that, huh?
Grant was 18.
But we just did Grant, right? Okay, so Rutherford B. Hayes, James A. Garfield, Chester A. Arthur, Grover Cleveland. I don't know enough about any of those people.
A lot of those I'm in the I don't care category, but James A. Garfield gets an incomplete, in my opinion.
Well, that's the same category for our purposes, right?
Give them all a C. I mean, just assume that they did okay. There wasn't necessarily a war, and there wasn't necessarily a crisis, and so
I'll give him a C.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
So you're gonna have to help me figure out who
we need to start bumping people into the C category, because
what are we doing here?
I mean, as a statistician, I want to see C's
as like the most common.
That should be the median and the mode.
Yeah, so he goes in the I don't know.
So Hayes. Oh, did I put him in D? No.
He goes in the I don't know because he got assassinated.
Oh, okay. So what do? We get who else now?
He didn't have a chance to screw things up or make things better.
So that's William McKinley, but we'll get to him.
Yeah, he gets the incomplete.
So what do? We just did Hayes and Garfield and Arthur?
Arthur and
Okay, Cleveland and Harrison.
Yeah, Cleveland and Harrison there. And then this guy gets an incomplete.
This guy?
Yeah, that's William McKinley.
Okay, McKinley gets an incomplete, I guess.
Yeah, he got killed pretty early on, right?
That's why Roosevelt.
It says he was president for 4 years.
Okay.
He's serving.
Yeah.
He was assassinated in 1901. But yeah, he didn't get a full term, I guess.
All right. Well, we're getting nitpicky.
My rule
now.
is, I mean, hey, I let JFK off the hook too.
Okay, so
you're more generous than we are.
I'm like, Lincoln got assassinated. Why do we give him?
Yeah, but Lincoln is obviously the exception.
Okay. So did we do McKinley too?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So Theodore Roosevelt.
Teddy the Rough Rider Roosevelt.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Now we start to get into people that I maybe have heard a little bit more about.
Yeah, exactly.
his reputation, I think, was pretty good. He was just gruff. He was honest, said what he needed to say, had that talk softly and carry a big stick foreign policy. He fought the Spanish-American War, actually fought in it, right?
Yeah.
I think he was crucial in getting in, or he was at least president while the Panama Canal got started. That's my impression. I might be all wrong.
My husband
What-
gives
what-
him
what-
an F, so we'll find out why. Go ahead.
Yeah, I give him an F because he espoused a sort of poisoned view of the Constitution that I still think we feel today. All of his rhetoric about the Constitution, if you look at it, he loved to talk about how there's no such thing, as the tyranny of the majority. And what we really need to do is worry about giving the will of the people. He defined will of the people as whatever the majority wants. So he very much tried to characterize America as just a pure democracy, which is exactly what the founding fathers were fighting against, right? Like that's why we don't have the Articles of Confederation, because we're not a pure democracy.
I mean, pure democracy and pure tyranny are, those are both.
What's the difference?
Both those extremes
Yeah.
They end up meeting at the end of the circle.
Exactly. So for me, that's a huge detraction for me. And I think that he started that sort of language, I think, is in part what helped to politicize there's that early 20th century, working for the poor man or the working man sort of thing. And this sort of like anti-monopoly culture that I think that was baked into that as well. And I think that helped give rise to the administrative state. So yeah, I don't give him a lot of credit personally.
So why did how did he end up on the Mount Rushmore?
And people
I don't know. Did he fund it? I don't know.
Because of the populist stuff.
I think because he's probably one of those people who's like a progenitor of like the Democrat, like modern day democratic thought, I would guess.
Yeah.
And
I
so
would agree with
like he was FDR before FDR was FDR.
kind of.
Yes,
yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
But
Okay.
if he actually fought in a war, I think that's pretty badass, and we should at least give him a D.
I'll let him stay out of the F tier
We'll
with
put him in a
good
D.
old James Buchanan.
Actually fight, like if you're president, you're actually fighting in a war. I think that's you get some credit in my book.
Yeah.
Okay, do we know anything about Taft?
He was a terrible Supreme Court justice, so there's that.
But we're only going on president, right?
Oh, all right. I don't care.
Okay, let's just put I don't know.
I think a lot of these early ones I give bad grades as well. I just have a bad disposition towards them.
Okay, Wilson, Harding.
Same. I just don't like. I'm just like whatever.
Okay.
Now Wilson had to oversee. Was Wilson? He might get an F for being involved in the League of Nations,
right?
And, kind of selling out American autonomy.
Sure.
To be to become the head of the Popular Kids Club.
Mm. Yeah, pretty much anyone
I don't
from
know enough about him, so if you say anything, I'm like, sure.
all I know is
Whatever.
FDR gets an F.
Okay, wait, but now we're on a
All right, we're not up to that.
now we're on another S-level president, Calvin
Silent
Coolidge.
Cal.
Yes.
I think he's an S-level president that didn't get to serve during the right time, so I give him an A.
Touted as one of the most libertarian presidents ever. He pretty much was like, I'm just gonna do my job. I'm not gonna like try to push any agenda, which is absolutely what I want from a president. I'm fine with either A or S, but he was in my S tier.
I think he was an S-level man, but an A-level president, and it's not his fault that he's an A-level president.
He didn't have a defining game.
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit.
Like Dan Marino, You know, he great quarterback, clearly superior, never got to play in a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's not his fault, but it is.
No,
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever want to know what Calvin Coolidge thought, you should read his 150th July 4th anniversary speech that he gave. Because there he does a great job talking about America is a special place. America is a place of natural rights. America is a place of equality. America is not like these other countries. America, is a separation from England. All that stuff that the founding fathers actually espoused, like they actually espoused, that's the stuff that he talks about.
Mm-hmm.
I will try to link it below if I can remember. Okay, Herbert Hoover.
Who cares?
He was like president during the.
No, I think he got a bad rap because he was sitting on a time bomb that had been going off. That I don't. That he was sitting in there when market failures really started to come about. Probably because there was already too much interference in the markets from big things.
From the legislature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he got the blame for that.
Yeah. But that's
I don't know that he was a bad guy, but he certainly, those were dark times. I mean,
Let's
a
give him
lot
a
of
C.
people were jumping out of windows.
My chops here. Go to the next one.
Let's put him in C. Okay,
All right.
FDR gets an F because he just greatly expanded the government, the federal government. I mean,
he's the start of politicizing the Supreme Court too, in my opinion. I think he's one of the early proponents of actually politicizing the Supreme Court.
Yeah, he did a lot. He did a lot to really start the socialist agenda in the United States.
Yeah.
Also, didn't he praise Hitler?
In his defense, those were dark times. I mean, desperate times called for desperate measures, and he certainly did some desperate things. I wish he had been a little bit more moderate in his responses, because his solutions have now become problems.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I think he should be in the F tier, because he created, like, I understand it's not like Calvin Coolidge when he was reigning in a time that when he was serving in a time that didn't like call for anything extraordinary, but extraordinarily bad things have had measures that like have had, issues that do still affect us. And I think that that's not something that we should just give him a pass for.
I gotta say, my grandfather, you never met him. He was after FDR, he was Democrat the rest of his life. That was it. He felt that FDR was for the working man. FDR pulled the country out of the Depression. FDR led the country through World War II, which was a dreadful time.
Yeah.
So FDR has he was very popular in his time. Unfortunately, I think if he hadn't died, he probably would have continued to be president until death.
Yeah.
And fortunately, he didn't have any kids, right?
I'm not sure. Because I mean,
I don't know that he did.
That's the other thing about him, is he definitely like wanted to be president. Clearly.
Oh yeah, he was set up. He was ambitious.
Yeah. Harry S. Truman. I know there's
my impression is that he was a real good guy.
I know there's I think maybe one of the big presidential biographers wrote a book about Truman too. I haven't read it, and I don't really know much about him, but
all I know is the buck stops with him.
And I saw the Truman Show, and
All right.
What does that
And
mean?
he didn't appear in it at all. I was really disappointed.
I know, but what does that mean? What does that mean? The buck stops here.
It's his responsibility. He's accountable. He's the one to blame if something goes wrong.
Oh,
He
okay.
was saying he was accountable. I mean, he was taking accountability for stuff. He had to make the decision to drop the bombs.
And I think my husband was saying yesterday he gives him a lot of credit for that. I think that
I give him a lot of credit for that too, because it was clearly going to have some backlash.
Yeah, I would say so.
But in terms of American priorities, the best thing we could have done.
Let's give him a B.
From my impression, your grandpa, my dad, talks about Harry Truman as being the real deal, as far as he knew that the war in Japan was going to cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives,
Right.
On both sides.
He did it
And-
really as a means to try to prevent further loss of life.
Right. He went in there with shock and awe.
Yeah.
It's like, we can keep doing this, or you guys can give up now.
Yeah.
But we don't want to have to invade mainland Japan, because those guys were fanatics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The suicide bombers and the kamikazes and all those guys who hid in the jungles for decades afterward, continuing to think that they were fighting for the emperor. Wow, that was a rough
Dedication.
yeah. So he actually ended the World War II, which I give him credit for that.
So Dwight D Eisenhower. I don't know enough about him. What do we think of him?
I had the impression that he was a pretty good guy too.
That's what I heard. Should we give him a B?
I'd give him an A as well, but that's just me.
I would say let's just give him a B because I don't know enough about him. Okay. John F. Kennedy.
We're not very
precise.
This is not a science.
I feel bad that maybe we're giving some of these guys short shrift because we just don't know enough. We're grading them on something we have no idea. I guess that's how these things work.
That's democracy, folks.
Who's the best football team ever? Oh, is it the 86 Bears? Oh, no, was it the 64 Packers? Was it the, who knows?
It's one of my lifelong ambitions to read a biography about every president. So
you might have to write some, because there's some of these guys who are who are pretty medieval.
In about 80 years, when I finally finish that task, I will redo this and I'll be able to have a lot more solid basis for my
well, I'd like to be involved in the podcast then at that time. 80 years, I'll be old.
Yeah, I think William Henry Harrison's biography is more of a pamphlet.
All right, John.
He came, he saw, he was stupid, and he died.
You give John F. Kennedy incomplete?
I give him an incomplete.
I don't know. What do you think about Kennedy?
I think Kennedy did. He was part of a cultural trend that probably started with FDR that he continued on. That probably was not as, looking back now, it was very popular. He was incredibly popular with a lot of the working folks and everything. And he was young and pretty, and he died too young, so he got to be kind of a martyr. I don't think he was great. I don't think he was terrible.
Let's give him a D.
Okay. He kind of kept some of that socialist stuff going.
And he also was part of the whole Kennedy. I don't know that this was necessarily his fault, but the Kennedys are definitely the Kennedys as far as political family, like nepotism and whatever. Yeah, I don't know that that's necessarily his fault, but it's true. And he also was like,
it might be to his detriment or credit, depending on how you view the legacy of the Kennedys. He was very charismatic, and the other Kennedys were pretty adequate politicians. I mean, they were all groomed to be politicians.
But that's kind of my point, is it's all just kind of like nepotism, and it's like you never really know, like, does somebody like that, did they really earn it, or are they just have the right name and so they get the position or whatever?
Just
and also
hitchhiking.
From all accounts, he seemed like a really terrible person in his personal life. Like, he cheated on his wife, and allegedly. So,
Allegedly what? No, I think that's a matter of record.
Well, I don't want to get sued by the Kennedys, so I'm just gonna say allegedly.
If you got sued by I don't think they'd want to bring that up in court.
Okay.
Because I think there's enough information and enough allegation out there that they just as soon let all those.
If it wasn't public record now it would be then, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. He assuredly cheated on his wife. Wasn't a great person. He gets a D. Okay. Let's move on. Lyndon B Johnson. I know he was like, people hated him because of the Vietnam War, right?
Well,
some people did.
Yeah, I think he kept the Vietnam War going. It wasn't something that he started, but he kept it going, I think. And he did a lot of socialist programs, some of which have done good, but now again, it's solutions to problems where the solutions have become the problem.
Let's give you an F.
Wow, you guys are harsh graders.
Well, here, to be fair, I think most politicians suck. So I feel like F is kind of the standard for politicians. You have to show me.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Okay. All right, Richard Nixon. Here's the thing. The only thing that I really know about him is that he perjured him, like he committed perjury, right? Like did he lie under oath? I guess he was certainly corrupt in the sense of the whole Watergate thing, and I think that that's not good. I don't really know anything about him, like policy-wise.
I don't know that he initiated the Watergate stuff, but he certainly didn't. The buck didn't stop with him.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely like abdicated responsibility for that.
He was actively firing people who were trying to investigate him, right?
Yeah.
He gets a.
But as a president, what did he do? I don't know. He said he was going to end the war. I guess he kind of did.
Let's give him a D.
Okay.
I probably don't know enough to give him a full.
He's certainly broadly hated, and is because I think he was kind of arrogant, and he was not very likable. Just not a very likable guy. That doesn't mean that he wasn't an okay president. It just means that he was harder to like. Yeah, he's kind of a Donald Trump, you know. Yeah.
Okay, Gerald Ford. I don't know anything about him. You were what, 14 when he became president? So
yeah, he was. I don't know if it was his fault, but he was involved in a lot of inflationary stuff, and he didn't do a great job.
What do we give him? A D? A C? Sounds like a D.
Give him a C. Give him a C.
All right, he'll be a C. Okay, Jimmy Carter. Once again, don't know really anything about him. You were 17 when he became president.
Now, see, he's the opposite of most politicians in that he seems to be a really great guy who was just a really terrible administrator. So as far as his administration, I think he was just an abject failure.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a bad dude.
That's why they call it Carter era inflation.
Yeah, he really failed as a president.
Let's give him a D.
Okay.
Okay, Ronald Reagan. Everybody talks super highly about him. I know he was pretty good economically from what I can tell, but
even the Democrats talk highly about him now. At the time, he was viewed as being a real warmonger, a real hawk, just really law and order, which I don't know that that's bad. From my point of view, that's probably good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was somebody who kind of he made America great again.
Here's a question. Was he the first, was his presidential run the first one that would have been the first time you would have been eligible to vote, right?
Yeah, at age 21.
Did you, because before you would have been what, like 17? So you would have been
maybe, yeah. He would have been the first one that I could have voted for.
Do you remember who you voted for?
I don't. Probably, who did he run against? He didn't run against Carter, did he?
I don't know. Let's not look into it because we're running low on time.
No, yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
We'll hasten it. I'd have to say I'd give him a higher than C grade. I'd have to say that.
Like a B or an A?
He's either B or A. Maybe, yeah, maybe even the S.
Let's give him an A.
I gave him an A.
Okay. George H.W. Bush. Once again, don't really know a lot about him.
He nominated Clarence Thomas. That's an S.
I think he was a good guy. He was not as charismatic as Reagan, but I'd probably give him a B.
Teddy, my husband wants to give him a S.
Not really. I'd give him a B.
All right, we'll give him B. Okay. Bill Clinton. Here's what I know about Bill Clinton. He's allegedly a murderer. He's allegedly a rapist. And I know
he's definitively an adulterer.
Definitely hung out with Jeffrey Epstein.
He's definitively an adulterer and a perjurer.
And a horrible person. And
however,
he did perjure himself as president, and I think that is important. However, I think from what I can tell, he's kind of like moderate. He certainly was like probably the last moderate Democrat in terms of abortion. Like he was the one who said safe, legal, and rare, right? I mean, that's as moderate as a Democrat's gonna get. So, right. And I really don't know enough about him politically otherwise. Do you have any reason why I shouldn't give him an F? He
was pretty much an F.
He's a horrible person, and he lied.
Well, as a person, he's slime. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a pretty good administrator. I mean, he was kind of Machiavellian, right? I mean,
the saxophone.
He played the saxophone. He's a great dancer. He's a good dresser.
What? So what? You're telling me that the fact that he cheated on his wife doesn't matter, but the fact that
I'm being sarcastic.
What's the saxophone? You gotta cheat on your wife.
He was, I think, the last decent Democratic president.
I'll give him a D. I'm not going any higher.
You won't go higher than that?
Will not go higher than D.
I'd probably go a little higher, but that's all right.
Okay, George W. Bush. He's a tough nut to crack. I gave him a C yesterday.
I give him a C or a B. I mean, he had the rep as just being a bonehead. He would trip over his sentences. He wasn't nearly as bad as Biden in that regard.
True.
Yeah,
but they just looked at him as being a stooge and a puppet, and they said, "Oh, Dick Cheney is just running the whole show, and he's evil." Now, I think a lot of Democrats would say, "I wish we had a Republican to run against like George Bush."
Exactly.
He was a pretty good guy.
As my husband,
the same way they talk about John McCain, and the same way they talk about Mitt Romney.
Exactly.
Now, even though at one point those guys were going to reinstate slavery.
Yeah, exactly. My husband and I both kind of said, I don't really know enough about like the war in Afghanistan and all that stuff. But I think that domestically he was good, and foreign policy wise he was not good. And so I think he kind of evens out. And he seems like just kind of a decent dude. So I think he evens out to like a C.
You were 8 years old when 9/11 happened.
Yes, I was in second grade. Yep.
Okay. That was my Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Watching 9/11, watching the attacks there, feeling the dread, feeling like what is this going? What's gonna come of this? Those were desperate times, and he had to react in some way. The whole WMD thing in Iraq, that was intel. He didn't generate that intel. That was intel that was generated by other people and that he just went along with. But, was he responsible for the decision? Yeah. But you can only make decisions based on the information that you have. And at that time, it seemed like the decision he made was okay. I was opposed to the war, and I still wish we had never gotten into it.
Yeah.
I feel like that was a mistake on his part, but I can certainly not blame him for that because we basically were under attack. I mean, when you're under attack, you respond as though you're in a war.
And like I said, I don't know enough. I really don't know enough about it to say one way or the other. I just think that it certainly caused a chain of events that has not been good. But
I think it was Clinton's fault that the Taliban came to be as radical, and they didn't do anything to respond to that or to mitigate that. Even though there had been an attack on the World Trade Center a couple of years before that. I don't know if you were aware of that. Under Clinton's administration, somebody drove a truck bomb underneath the World Trade Center and tried to blow it up. It didn't do much damage, but I don't know. He inherited a situation that was pretty tough. And he did all right. That was also he inherited the .com bubble bursting.
I'll give him a B. You're changing my mind. I'll give him a B because you know what? He was also like, I think he was just the fact that of somebody being pro-life, I think makes a difference to me. So
yeah.
Okay, so now what do we have left here? We have Obama, I think F. I think Obama is an F because I think that he just completely brought identity politics to the presidency. And I think that was not just the fact that he was Black. I think that was an intentional thing that he did. And so for that, I give him an F, and he's pro-choice.
Okay, I'll go with that. Yeah, that was probably why he's elected, and he certainly didn't do anything to dispel that.
Yeah, and I think he encouraged it, if anything. I mean, I think he talks about like, I don't know. We don't have to get into it because
he's not a horrible guy. I think he had good intentions, but again, he was part of that democratic machine, and there were certain things that they were looking to do as far as, advancing socialism, the socialized medicine and everything. We're still paying for that. Yeah.
Okay, so now we come to Donald Trump. What would you give Donald Trump before I give any input?
I would give Donald Trump, as far as an administrator and as far as the policies that he enacted and as far as the Supreme Court justices that he chose, I'd give him a high grade. I'd give him an A or a B as far as that. As far as his ability to lead the country, clearly that was defective. he alienated a lot of people by the way he conducted himself as a person. As a person, he did a horrible job.
Yeah, I
As-
mean,
As a president and an executive, I think he did fine. I think he did well.
hold on. Okay. So, I think I would give Donald Trump an A because I think he did a really good job. I think he was extremely pro-life. I think he did so much good in the fact that he got rid of a lot of like legislation that was on the books. Like they were saying like, for every bill he signs, he has gotten rid of like, I don't even remember what the number was, but for like four laws that were on the books or whatever. I mean, I think he did a lot for kind of trying to lower the size of the federal government. And my husband and I had a discussion yesterday. I think his response to COVID actually was not bad in terms of like that's a huge crisis to have to try to be figuring out. And he, you make your point that you were saying yesterday about what Democrats would have done if they were in office.
Yeah, I think Trump's crowning achievement in office is what he didn't do while COVID was raging. If Democrats got control after the vaccines were out, after there was a lot more information, after the crisis had largely subsided, but if Democrats were in office and had control, March of 2020, they would have seized as much power as they possibly could have during that period of time and would have absolutely expanded government far more than Donald Trump had.
It does seem that that's been their tendency. Yep.
Now, he obviously doesn't get an S level because he is a horrible person and he caused a lot of divide just with his rhetoric and all that stuff.
I'm mixed on his rhetoric, though, because I mean, he definitely he wouldn't concede the election. He wouldn't say, people just condemn someone in Charlottesville right off the bat. It took him some time to do it, that sort of stuff. But he did something that a lot of other Republican presidents wouldn't do, in that he wouldn't accept the premises of the people asking the questions.
I absolutely agree with that. I also think on foreign policy, he was great.
Yeah.
He was great on foreign policy. He was extremely strong. He showed he wasn't going to back down. He wasn't going to kowtow to people like Kim Jong-un and
Rocket Man,
Putin. Personally, I think he as a president, if you just ignore everything he said on Twitter, I think he was like an excellent president. It's just hard to, in this day and age, ignore the things that he said. And I think that I would still give him an A, but I think
and I think what keeps him out of the S category is the big lie at the end there.
Yeah.
Not accepting the results of the election. Clearly, there wasn't enough vote tampering and all that stuff to sway the election.
Yes.
I think culturally, the fact that he was so blunt and that he called out fake news, I think that's a great thing.
Yeah,
I give him credit for that. It certainly has fed into the divide, but maybe that's a fight that needs to happen at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe that's he's like the F line of people that we threw in there before the Civil War because they didn't have the courage to bring things to the fore.
Yeah.
He certainly had the courage to bring things to the fore. He wasn't afraid of mixing it up.
Yeah.
And I give him credit for that. I cannot put him into the S category.
I can't.
And the other thing that I'm afraid of is the very thing that a lot of the Democrats have said, which is, I think he was trying to kind of set up a president. He is just narcissistic enough to be one who would try to set up a president for life thing and or get his kids. He would want to have like a
Kennedy,
like a Republican prince thing, like the Bushes.
Yeah.
I think he would want to have his kids become You know, if Ivanka to be the first woman president, or something like that. So yeah, I can't give him a superior. Do we have to call Joe Biden incomplete? I mean, he's only had a year.
He's the opposite of what did you say? Did you say Ford was the one who
Carter was really nice.
Carter, who was like really nice, but just like not very good at administrating. I feel like Trump's the opposite of that. Like he's just so shitty as a person, but he was like pretty good at being president. I gotta give it to him.
I like most of his decisions. If you didn't watch the news coverage about how he was as a person, and some of the, I mean, and he was clearly that way as a person. I mean, that wasn't all fake news. There was a lot of truth to it.
I think you make a good point that Biden is incomplete, but I still give him an F because I think he's just so bad. I think the stuff in Afghanistan was so bad. I think the fact that he claims to be Catholic but is pro-choice. I know we're trying to keep that out of it, but like that I think is so bad. I think
who's trying to keep that out of it?
Not me.
Just I mean like his
rhetoric as president.
So you count that as rhetoric as president, even though okay. Well, I think that's obviously horrible. I think
so far he's just been a gradually dementing hypocrite.
All you have to do, Zoe, is type go to
Google. And
I know
a much more socialistic, far left policy presenter than he had come across when he was campaigning. He came across well because he basically hid in his basement during the entire COVID thing and didn't campaign and just let Trump continue to tie nooses for himself over and over again, which Trump was very willing to do. But Biden was supposedly the moderate choice. You know, he was not as socialistic as Bernie. He was not as whatever as some of the other folks. And he was going to be just a good old guy. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's mean-spirited. He's not very alert or aware of what's going on.
Yeah. He appointed Kamala Harris as his vice president. I think that can't be overlooked.
That's just that and that's a complete identity thing right now.
That's what he's going to do with the Supreme Court.
And he's already said. Yeah, he's already said he's going to elect like a black woman to the Supreme Court now that Justice Breyer is stepping down.
Right.
And yeah, I think that.
And what if Donald Trump had said, I'm just going to go with white guys. I think white guys make the best leaders. I'm just going to. He would have been crucified. There would have been so many lawsuits. And so much hullabaloo about that.
They probably would have actually impeached him. Maybe. Yeah. I think that.
And Joe's saying that even though I don't think he believes that black females are the best jurists.
What if he puts Kamala on there?
That's been talked about. That she might fail up.
Is that she's not qualified.
She's been such a terrible vice president that they might want to get her out of the way of the vice presidency by promoting her to the Supreme Court.
There's no way she would be like nominated though. That's just not going to happen. Here's something else I'll say about him. Oh my gosh, what was I going to say? I think like Ben Shapiro has made this point a lot, that basically all he had to do was not be Trump. Like he basically just had to come in. He would be super popular if he just came in and not like made a bunch of mistakes. And the fact that he's like super unpopular just shows that he's just made like blunder after blunder. And I think that's, yeah, he gets an Effing.
Certainly made a lot of bold moves. I mean, all this stimulus stuff he's basically tripled the budget.
Yeah.
And he's just calling for long-term debt that has no support. He's really given into this whole modern monetary theory that money doesn't matter, spend as much as you can, and never pay it off. It's like, how does that work as a country? How can we continue to respect ourselves if we don't pay our debts?
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
but I mean, that's been a failing of every president since Clinton, really. I think Clinton had almost a balanced budget at one point. So everybody since then has really added to the debt.
Even Trump, who I think was like, you know, fairly good economically, but still, like I think economics were a weak point for him for sure. He didn't try to slash the economics of the government in the way that he could have. But
right. Yeah.
All right, I think that we should. So here's our tier list in all its glory. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. I think I like that our F category is so big, because like I said, I do think that's kind of the standard of a president, is like most of them are pretty bad. It takes a lot.
Most of them are very ambitious, and their ambitions outweigh their merits. Yeah.
Ulysses S Grant.
Oh, Ulysses S Grant. Okay. Yeah, I think that we I think it's looking good. I don't know. This was kind of just a fun episode, but I hope you
and obviously it's all opinion, and it's not really well informed.
Exactly. It's extremely not well informed opinion.
There's a lot of folks we just have no idea about. And
I feel like if Coach watched this, he'd be like, "Oh my gosh!" Like yeah, he's lucky.
Back to school for these fools.
Yeah. Once I go through teaching American history to my kids, I'll maybe be a little bit more informed. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm writing all those biographies that you're gonna have to write.
Well, thank you for joining us today. I hope this was at least fun. And you know what? Here's my optimistic note that I'll end on. Biden is technically incomplete. He could turn things around. He's got like 2 years left of his term. He's got 3 years left of his term. Wow, feels like it's been forever.
I think he's feeling the pressure probably from a lot of his Democratic colleagues that people are fed up with the COVID directives.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do anything about the disease. The disease is here.
Sure.
Get used to it. But all these directives feel like intrusion.
Yeah.
And I think he's getting the idea that he's got to back way off on being so active in, hopefully in the economy, hopefully in the whole COVID response. I hope he's looking like he's wanting to get really active about this Ukraine situation, which could just end up being a nightmare. That's a classic political move, though. Start a war because people don't want to change horses in the midst of a war. What a craven, nasty thing to do that is.
Yeah.
Start, getting pulled into a war just because it bolsters your political ambitions. That's horrible.
Some people on Instagram were saying like they think that it's like, oh, people aren't freaking out about like COVID anymore. They're kind of starting to like lose faith in the government over COVID. Like, time to start the war.
Time to pick an enemy that's more credible.
Yeah. And I once again, the only news I get is from memes on Instagram. So I don't really know what's happening with the Ukraine situation other than it seems like people in Ukraine are like packing bags, getting ready to leave because
the Ukrainians are used to this. They're used to the Russians being threatening. And so they're like, I don't know that we need to do anything. Let's just chill. Let's not provoke it. Let's not push it. Not push any panic buttons. But Biden's wanting to do, he feels like his back's against the wall and he's got to do something. When in fact, a lot of times the best thing for a politician to do is nothing.
Especially because like it has like what does this have to do with
let history roll out. Let culture decide itself. Let international politics take care of themselves. Let the economy run itself.
Yes.
Get the hell out of the way. Kind of more of a Taoist approach to the whole administration.
Yeah.
Just let it be. Let the water flow over the rocks. Don't try to direct it. Because all you're going to do is mess things up, create a Grand Canyon, which is pretty much where we're at.
Yeah. I feel like Calvin Coolidge that was kind of his thing. It was just kind of like, I'm not gonna like do anything crazy. Like that's
I'm here to take care of a problem if it arises.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna look for trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want in a president.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us. I hope this was informative or at least entertaining.
Amusing, maybe provocative. Maybe we dissed your favorite president.
If we did,
put it in the comments.
Exactly. Please let us know if we got something way wrong. Let us know.
Or even just marginally wrong. Just give us a little bit of feedback here.
If somebody is a huge Theodore Roosevelt apologist and you have a reason why you think he should be higher on our list, please let us know.
Or Martin Van Buren. Maybe you feel like, hey, Dutch is a tough language, man. Don't underestimate the value of speaking Dutch.
I don't think that's the value. I think the value is because learning English is such a hard language.
Yeah, as a second language. Yeah.
They say it's the hardest language to learn. Although Norm MacDonald said, for me, it's the easiest.
Yeah.
Anyway. Okay, everyone. Have a good.
Your brother is taking Mandarin. I don't know if you knew that.
He is, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to learn some things from him. Well, everyone, enjoy your week. Have a good time.
Ni hao.
All right. Bye, everyone.
To all of our
Chinese fans.
We're probably censored at the border for China. We probably don't make it through their airwaves.
I'm gonna list the language on this video as Chinese and see if we get more viewers. All right, bye everybody.
All right, see ya.